Hey, Fred.
Hey, John.
How you doing?
Good. How are you, buddy?
So, welcome friends and followers of Fred and John Talks. I'm John, and this is...
Fred, as usual. It's still me.
So, you know, you and I have a lot of fun talking about topics and follow-ups and what we hear from our followers and comments they make. And we love doing this and hope that they will subscribe, tell their friends, like us on Facebook, spread the word.
And like us on YouTube.
On YouTube, text your friends, send emails to your friends.
Mm-hmm.
If you're getting some value out of this and entertainment and something educational. So today I think we're going to do another interesting topic. Fred and I have been kicking around this for a while, and he has a lot of experience in this field that we're going to talk about today. So probably I just turn it over to you, Fred, and let you get into it.
Okay. I just want to put out, picking up on what you said about how, we have, I think we talk more off camera than we do on camera because we do this brainstorming.
Correct.
And future episodes. And I've had for quite a while now, but we're going to make it happen. For those of you who grew up and at the time when they had that TV program, Name That Tune, what they would do is they would have two contestants, and then they would play the first few bars of a song without the words.
Right.
And the contestants would say, I can name that, before they played the tune, they said, I can name that tune in 5 notes. Then the other one might say, I can name it in 4 notes. And then the other one was faced with, geez, can I name this tune in 3 notes? But we're gonna so you have something to look forward to. My idea about it is to say, not sing, and
That's
use
because
words.
I can't sing. Self-admission, I can't sing.
We're gonna. My plan is, and I already have copious notes on this, is I'm gonna say the first line or two of a song, and ask our listening audience if they can guess the song, and then at the end of the episode, we'll tell what the songs were. Anyway, okay, that's all a digression. I digress. Today, we're going to do the first of 2 episodes about dream interpretation. And I was too lazy to write on the marker board, so once again, I ask your apologies for putting my glasses on and off and looking at my notes and this and that.
Is that because your memory's bad, Fred?
It's because I have so much material.
Oh, okay.
And I just can't keep it all in mind. So today, I said there's going to be 2 episodes. Today, I'm going to mostly do personal sharing from my own life and interpretation of dreams, and from some of my counseling work of interpretation of dreams. And so this is going to be a real hybrid. And I'm going to end on a note, going to end with a bang, and ask ahead of time, excuse the pun. You'll see at the end why I said end with a bang. So it's going to be a hybrid of that. The second episode we're going to do is going to be more from the academic and teaching point of view about dream and dream theory. So first let me start off by saying, that there are many different theories of dream interpretations, many different methodologies, and so on. And I'm going to speak from my experience, and I'll be leaving out more than I'll be saying because I took training in dream interpretation, and I loved it, and I've adhered to it, and I've experienced it, as I say, both in my personal life and in my life as a therapist. As one example of, there's many theories about interpretations of dreams, I am going to ignore kind of the father, the modern father of dream interpretation, Sigmund Freud,
You're going to ignore Freud?
I'm going to ignore Freud, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Well, first of all, let me give him credit. Oh my God, excuse me. 1 second. So sorry. I had the timer on for something that...
Are you cooking today, Fred?
Yeah, right, I'm cooking today. So, Freud is credited with saying, dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. But if you know anything about Sigmund Freud or you work in the field of psychology, he interpreted everything as having sexual overtones. And that's just been disproven. That is just not the case. Okay, so here we go with the glasses and reading. So my favorite book on dreams is called Dreams, God's Forgotten Language. It's by John Sanford, Sanford, and he really is he's written a number of books on dream interpretation, and he's a Jungian, Carl Jung. And Carl Jung is, he's not an easy read. He was brilliant, and he did a lot of research and wrote a lot. But this guy makes it accessible to the public, not only therapists. Great book. In our time, in our culture, there's what I call sort of a poverty of the unconscious. We don't pay that much attention to our unconscious, and psychologists say that our unconscious is actually smarter and wiser than our conscious mind, because you have all this stored knowledge and experience that, because we don't pay attention to our dreams, which is the royal road to the unconscious, thank you, Sigmund Freud.
The unconscious is rich with material.
Rich with material.
Rich with material, and everybody today is too busy in the immediate.
In the immediate.
Give me words.
In the conscious world,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I use a metaphor, and it goes like this. To not pay attention to your dreams. Now let me qualify this. We dream every night. Sleep researchers established that long ago. When the subjects were sleeping and they had rapid eye movement, in other words, under their eyelids, their eyes were moving around, they woke them up, and the person was able to tell them word for word what they were dreaming about. That's the dream phase. But there's a poverty of the unconscious, and I use the analogy of, it's kind of like having a storage, what do they call that? Not in your house or a storage shed, but when you go get a storage bin, is it?
A storage unit.
Thank you, a storage unit.
That you rent.
Yes, it's like having a storage unit filled with gems, filled with treasures, filled with things that could enrich your life, but you never go open the storage unit, and you never make use of or allow the things you're storing there to enrich your life.
Yeah, you lock the shed and throw away the key.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, I go, in my training, there was a saying, a dream uninterpreted is like a letter unopened and unread.
Ooh.
Now again, I'm not talking about paying attention to every single dream you have. I'm talking about paying attention to the dreams that upon awakening you remember, and it makes an impact. You have a certain feeling state about it and stuff. You may wake up in the middle of the night from a nightmare and remember it. What I'm going to encourage you to do, even before I get into my personal story, is if you want to grow in wisdom and knowledge, self-knowledge, pay attention to your dreams and record them. And you know how fast in the morning they can disappear. If you get up to brush your teeth without writing it down, by the time you get back to the bedroom, you've forgotten it.
What about recurring dreams, Fred?
I'm going to get into that.
Okay.
As I say, you always ask good questions. I kept a dream journal when I was in therapy back in the day, before I ever became a therapist, and I was in therapy. I kept a dream journal for 2 years. And the things I learned in those 2 years, that was a period of rapid personal growth because I paid attention to my dreams. I had an experience once in therapy. Got to tell this story. I was counseling a couple who was engaged to be married, and the woman was someone, and not everybody is like this. I've talked to a lot of people who said, yeah, I've remembered 3 or 4 dreams in my whole life. But she came in every other session with a dream she had. And her fiance said, and it was very invalidating to her, and he was the only client I've ever had I've heard say this. He said, I don't believe people dream. I think it's something they make up in their head because I have never remembered one single dream. So I don't even believe people dream. Well, we have this thing called engaging the unconscious. We use different tools. Now, I'm kind of bleeding into the second episode about teaching, but let me just throw this in. You can engage your conscience simply by, right before your head hits the pillow, say, I invite a dream to come tonight, and then pay attention. I got to the point when I was keeping my dream, recording my dreams, where because I engaged my conscious, I was having 2 and 3 and sometimes 4 dreams a night that it just became too much. It was flooding me.
Wow.
And I would keep a notepad beside my bed, and by the time I woke up in the morning, it was all scribble scrabble. I couldn't even read it. So I started sleeping with a tape recorder beside my bed. And that's when things really took off, because I spoke them into a recording machine and remembered my dreams. Okay, so one thing I like to pay attention to in dreams, and I'm going to illustrate it with 2 stories, is paying attention to wordplay in dreams. Wordplay. And I had 2 significant dreams I want to tell you about. The first is, and this was when I was in therapy, I had a dream about a subject that is one of my favorite things in life. You can guess it.
Baseball.
Baseball. I had a dream that I was playing baseball, and the only other player I remember in the dream was a guy by the name of Mike D'Angelo. This was in Stamford, Connecticut, my hometown. But Mike D'Angelo was older than me. He played with my 2 older brothers. I knew of him. I knew he was a catcher. After his playing days, he became an umpire. But I never was personal friends with him. You know, we'd say hi and everything, but I never knew him on a personal level. But he snuck into my dreams. And I'm in therapy one day, and I'm talking to my therapist about this, and I'm saying, and oh, by the way, let me interrupt myself. Dream interpretation is very hard to do by yourself. It's typically done with Q&A, question and answers, ideally by a trained therapist who's good at interpreting dreams by question and answer. So it's very hard to do by yourself, and that's part of the story of my second dream. So I dreamt about this guy named Mike D'Angelo. I'm talking to my therapist, and I'm saying, I can't make any sense of this. And he was good at Q&A. And he says to me, what's the historical novel you've been telling me about for weeks that you're reading and really enjoying? And I said, The Agony and the Ecstasy. And he said, and what's that dream? What's that book about? I said, the life of Michelangelo, the great painter sculptor. Michelangelo, Mike D'Angelo. And so then, you see what I mean by wordplay? Then he asked me questions about what it was about the book that appealed to me. And he kept going with his questions, and we sorted out some of the meanings that the book had for me, the impact it was making in my life. By the way, it's a great book. Michelangelo was not only a great painter and sculptor, he was an engineer. He built the roads to access the marble that he wanted to get. You know, he designed them. He had others build them. And he was also a very good poet in his own right. But that book, The Agony and Ecstasy, great book.
So your therapist was connecting what you were doing in real time, reading the book, with the dream.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. By wordplay.
And that bore a lot of fruit just in that one session of casting light on where I was in my life at that time. I was clarifying some of my values and things like this. My second story also entails wordplay, but it's going to take a little bit lengthier of an explanation. This was a recurrent dream. And when I say pay attention to your dreams, pay extra special attention to your recurring dreams. When you have a dream over and over again on the same theme. It may not be the exact same details in every dream, the exact same people in the dream, but it's the same topic. It's the same milieu, if you will.
So it repeats, yeah.
It repeats. I had this dream, and I've mentioned this in the previous video, but I never fleshed it out, but I'm going to right now. I had this recurring dream sometimes 4-5 times a month for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years. And here was the dream. I used to work for the Catholic Church in New York State in a program called the Parish Mission Team. It was a group of, and this was, like I said, Catholic. It was a group of Catholic priests, Catholic nuns, Catholic lay men and women who went out into the churches throughout a 10-county area and conducted weeks of spiritual renewal in the parishes. It was called the Parish Mission Team. We lived together, we traveled together, we ate dinner together. We used to say, yeah, we do everything but sleep together. So I'm having this dream that I'm back on the mission team. And it's festive. It's very social. And it has that common element. I'm back on the mission team. I'm back at a reunion of the mission team, I should say. But the dream always ended with me going into the mailroom and checking to see if I had any mail. I can see the mailroom in my mind's eye. I used to go check my bin. Everybody had their bin, for their mail and everything.
How many years later was this recurring dream?
It went on from around 2002 into 2004. So like I said, almost 2 years. Okay. And I couldn't figure it out on my own, but it turned out to be God's perfect timing. I think I even said that in a previous video. So it's almost like I wasn't even meant to be able to interpret it in the first 2 years. But here's what happened. At that time, as a therapist in private practice, my office became a revolving door for men in individual therapy who had 3 things in common. Those of you who watch our videos, I'm saying this word for word on another episode we did about what to do about loneliness, and when I talked about my mental health practice. So my office became a revolving door for men who had 3 things in common. 1, they were carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders for one reason or another. 2, they didn't have anybody to talk to about it. And even if they did, they were hesitant to do so because men tend to feel ashamed if they can't solve their own problems and, things like that. And 3, they were on a legitimate spiritual journey. They were seeking God in their life. They were Christian. They were all Christians. And but they were struggling with their faith and trying to find, where's God in my life? I'm suffering so much, blah, blah, blah. And so then came the interpretation of the dream. I said to one of the guys during a session, I said to him, if I started a men's support group, would you be interested in something like that? And he said, yes, count me in if you do something like that. So what I realized was I had a mission, remember parish mission team, I had a mission to males, not checking your M-A-I-L, but males, M-A-L-E-S.
Oh my goodness, that's quite a connection, friend. That's pretty, pretty ingenious. Was this pointed out to you by a therapist, or did you decide this on yourself?
Figured it out.
Okay.
Because I had an epiphany when I'm meeting with this one guy. It all came together. I got all these guys I'm counseling individually, and that's helpful, but they didn't have male friends with whom they could be real and take their mask down and talk and cry in front of without feeling embarrassed. Well, the end of that story is I ran a Christian men's support group that lasted 8 years. That is so uncommon. You know, if you're even lucky enough to live in an area where they have a men's support group, you know, it may go 6 months or a year and then it peters out. This lasted 8 years, and we met every other Saturday for an hour and a half. We went on 2 retreats a year, one in the winter, one in the summer.
Interesting.
Those guys it was like a band of brothers.
This is relationships too.
This is relationships.
Apart from the therapy, part of our mission with this YouTube series and coming public with our information and knowledge and excitement about it is relationships.
Yes.
And getting people to connect again.
Yes. Okay, so there's 2 dreams based on wordplay. I'd like to transition now to just a brief nod to this truth that most dreams, the majority of dreams, are symbolic, and you have to, and the dream has meaning for the dreamer, and they're symbolic. Example: if I dream about a fire engine truck and you dream about a fire engine truck, it can mean completely different things. And let me illustrate it by saying this. So I had a dream about a fire truck, and in my past, when I was a kid, our house burnt down. Luckily, no one died, no one was home. It was a gas leak or something, and my house burnt down, and we came home to all these fire engines. But you had a dream about a fire truck, but you have a very vivid and happy memory when you were a kid, and they were having maybe a carnival, or I remember at our church they used to have this, or they still do have this picnic every year, and they have a fire engine truck come for the kids, and the kids get up and sit in the seat. And so your dream, based on your happy memory of sitting in that driver's seat of a fire engine truck when you're a kid, will have a totally different meaning. So yeah, there's that. But then to give you a sneak peek into the second episode, where I'm going to do some academic stuff, there are literal dreams, and I lost my train of thought, and I don't want to look down at my notes.
Was the fire truck for you negative?
No, I made that up.
Oh, okay.
I made that up.
Okay.
I forgot what the sneak peek was. Maybe it's a good thing I forgot that, because this might go too long. Okay, so yeah. Bear with me a moment. We're winding down. Okay. I know what the sneak peek was. Most dreams are symbolic, but there is such a thing called the literal dream, or more popularly, the literal warning dream. Ooh. And there are many cases in history of the literal warning dream. I'm going to talk about one of them and allude to another. But you can look this up, do a Google search. You know, in history, people who had literal warning dreams that became famous. Let me allude to one. It is said I am not absolutely certain of this, but it is said that Lincoln had a literal warning dream, like a premonition dream, that he was going to be assassinated.
Okay.
I don't know that for a fact, but I kind of heard that through the grapevine.
I've heard that same phrase.
Have you?
In my practice, women would come in and talk about having had a dream. Sometimes it would be recurring of some harm that was going to happen to them from a fear, or from an ex-husband, or from a current boyfriend or something, and they would have this premonition, and even of what might happen, not just that they were going to be harmed, but how they were going to be harmed.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Here is the case of a literal warning dream that's very powerful. And I learned this when I was getting my training from the instructor. He talked about it. There was a young German man, and by young I don't mean a teenager. He was an adult. Who, this was before World War II broke out, but it was when Hitler was in his ascendancy, and he was gaining followers and stirring up a lot of fever about his ideas and German domination. And this young man was conscripted into the Nazi army. And he saw no harm in it. He saw himself as being called to, fight for his country.
Yeah.
Well, he had a dream. And in this dream, he was outside. And in the far distance, on a very high hill, there was a train. And the train came down the hill. And as it came down, it was picking up speed. And he even said, feeling-wise, he started to get very unnerved. And it was coming down. I think he was worried about it crashing or something. But anyway, as it came down and then it came to level ground, it slowed up. And it had a swastika on the side. And a voice said to him in the dream, "Don't get on that train. It's going straight to hell."
Oh.
Yes. He didn't. He refused to join the army, and he was executed. And I'll bet he's in heaven, not hell.
Wow. So he didn't join the German army?
Didn't join, and I think he was shot by a firing squad. And I'll end with this. I told you I was going to end with a bang. So during my training, of course the instructor was talking about different methodologies and techniques to help people with their dreams. And he said, some people do better with things like drawing their dreams rather than describing them in words. And other creative ways of self-expression to convey to him. He was a therapist, and he was a master at dream interpretation, like I said, through Q&A, question and answer. Well, he said this one young woman was engaged to be married, and apparently she was too embarrassed to tell him in words this dream, so she drew it. She drew a picture of a woman, which she later said to the therapist, "This woman is me."
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And a penis was sticking out of her back. She's too embarrassed to say the word penis. It's just a body part. But anyway, so she drew this picture of herself with a penis stuck behind her back. And I'm about to tell you, I was so proud of myself. There were about 200 people in the mental health professions taking this course. And the instructor said, "Anybody got any ideas about what this dream might mean?" And about 6 or 7 people threw out ideas. And he was very kind about it. He said, you have some good ideas, but, you're still cold, you're not warm yet. You're not warm yet. And I piped up because this expression came to me. And I did use the F word, but I'm not going to right now. I said to him, "Somebody's screwing around behind her back." And he said, "Bingo, you win the prize." So,
Interesting.
in talking to her about the dream, she said, you know, I think this is just a fear dream because I had a past boyfriend that I dated for 5 years. And, you know, he cheated on me. It came out that he cheated on me multiple times. I think I have a fear/phobia about that. But nevertheless, the therapist encouraged her, you know, dreams are a powerful thing. And they can be a hybrid of symbolic and literal warning. Well, she confronted her fiance and he fessed up. He had been cheating on her. And that was the end of that engagement. And she was probably spared. And I can tell you this from my work with thousands of couples. She was probably spared. She probably dodged the bullet of being married to a man who would have probably been a serial cheater. If he was cheating on her before they were married, imagine what he would have done after they were married.
And she represented this by that drawing.
Yes.
And didn't quite realize it at the time.
She thought it was a fear-based dream because of her past experiences.
Yeah. And it was actually happening.
It was actually happening.
Fred, that's very entertaining and informative.
Thank you.
Wow. That gives you all something to think about out there.
Hope so.
In YouTube land. We'll conclude this session, but we're going to continue with another session later. But as always, if you like what you see and what you hear and enjoy Fred and John Talks, subscribe, like us on Facebook, send out the word to everybody. Okay?
Yes.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Ciao.
Ciao.